The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everyone, thanks again for joining us on the webinar today. This is the third in our Lunch and Learn series. Again, as always, we hope you're finding these useful and worthwhile. If you've missed any of the first two, they're all available on YouTube. If you just search for Socrates Lunch and Learn webinars, it should show up as the first couple of results in there. Again, just quick introductions. I'm Donald O'Neill, Marketing Manager for Clonwilliam Health, and I'll be emceeing today. And again, with me I have Louise Murray, our Socrates Support Team Lead, and she's going to be going through some of the new features in Socrates today. As always, we'll take as many questions as we can once Louise has finished her slot. So if you do have a question, please do fill it in using the question functionality in the control panel that you should be seeing on your screens now. If you type it in there, it'll come through to us, and then Louise can answer them at the end. So without any further ado, I'm going to pass over the controls to Louise, and she is going to take you through some of the new features in Socrates. So Louise, it should be popping up for you there now. Thanks.
Yep, perfect. Thank you.
Great, good to go.
You can see my screen now.
Yeah.
Perfect. Right. 1 second there, actually. I'm just going to bring that over there. Right. So, hello everybody. I am going to go through the new features that are in the version 2.6.0.0. So at the moment, we only have it in about 50-ish sites. It's been used for the last few weeks. So over the next few weeks, everyone's going to start getting it. And I'm going to go through some of the new features in it that I think people will find quite useful. I'm not going to be able to go through the whole thing, but I'll go through the things that I think people will find really useful. So the first thing is I'm going to show you the prescription section. So I'm going to go into a test patient, test Annie. And I'll begin my consultation. I'll go down to prescriptions. So in the prescription section, you can see that I have 6 drugs in the to-print section that I have to I can print off. So when I add in a new drug now, so add new, I'll just choose some. Let's go. It's already in the chart, but we'll just go with warfarin. Just go anything in here. And I go with the normal instructions, quantity, duration, etc. And I have repeat drug, etc. So from here, I have 6 issues. And I have these new buttons here to the right of GMS and generic only. I have long-term and I have PRN. So as needed, basically. So if a person is in a long-term drug, you might want to mark it as long-term. And what will happen is it'll filter down and it'll show you that it's a long-term drug straight away when you go into the prescription section, so it's easier to see. And also if they're PRN as needed, so like maybe paracetamol or something like that, you'll put that in as needed. So I'm just going to put this one in as a long-term and then normal instructions that you would want to put in, and you go finish. So when I go in here now, I can see all the drugs here. I have the normal stuff, and over to the right I have a category. These are standard scripts, these are long-term and standard. You can modify ones that are already there. So for example, I'm going to make paracetamol as needed. So I can double click on that and I can go PRN, finish. And now there is now standard, long-term and PRN. And yeah, so that's them. To make it even easier again, the feature is, I think it's turned on by default for people. But I'll just show you the feature. I think I turned it off just to show you it. So edit preferences. And then there is a prescription tab. And then down here at the bottom, I have 2 new checkboxes that I can select. So it goes group by category on to-print view. So for example, these are, you can look at them here this way and see standard, long-term, PRN. But if I click on group by category on to-print view, it will put them into different filters for you to make it even easier again to see. And then down here at the bottom, I have another setting called default long-term medication to private scripts. So this request was asked for. The reason for that is, so you have a GMS patient and you print off your scripts to your GMS printer. But we were told that some patients are on drugs that are forever, and they're not covered by GMS, so you have to print them off on private paper. So if I click on long-term medication to private scripts, it will default to print to the private printer. So I'm actually just not going to turn it on for a moment. I'll turn it on again in a few minutes. So if I just close this chart and I go back into it, I'm just going to show you the feature that I just turned on. Sorry. So edit and prescriptions. So now when I go into the prescription section, I can see clearly now that there's 3 different sections. There's standard, there's long-term, and there's PRN. So it will make it easier for people to see. And obviously, if people don't want to see it like that, you can turn off that in preferences. If it's the case that all of these are going to be long-term drugs, for example, I can highlight all of these. And down here at the bottom, I can click on edit and I can change them all to LT, PRN, etc. So if I just change these to long-term and go OK, they're now actually gone into long-term. I think I clicked on something wrong there. 1 second. Oh yeah, sorry, I only did it for 1. I highlight the ones that are long-term, so 2 of them, click edit, and then I have to go long-term here, long-term for that one. This one mightn't be long-term, it might be PRN, or it might be neither one of them. You don't have to use this feature if you don't want to, but I think it would be quite beneficial for surgeries to have that option. So I just go OK, so I was going to say PRN to that one and go OK. So now they're in separate categories. If you have in review drugs, so if I just go here and I just print this one off, it's going to mark it as handwritten, so I don't want to print it off. Sorry, no, that's going to be an acute one. A minute. Print. Actually, I have to print off, sorry, I printed off the wrong amount. I need to print off 6 of them. Okay, so now I've got another section called in review. So those are in review, standard, long-term, PRN. So it's easier to see. So if I was to click on long-term here now, right, I only want to print off the long-term because they don't need the PRN ones or standard ones. I can highlight all of them and click on print. And it defaults to GMS. Down here, you'll notice in the last version you got last year, at the beginning of this year, it comes up with a card validation. This person is a GMS patient, so it's just checking to see if that person's number is valid, and it's saying it's not because that's just a made-up one that I did. So when I click on ignore, it's defaulting to GMS. But if I turn on the feature, the preference that I showed you earlier, if I go edit preferences, prescriptions, and then default long-term medication to private scripts, then you click OK to that. And if I was to highlight all of them, I don't know if I have to close out of the chart, but we'll soon find out. Yeah, so it's after defaulting to private now. So it's automatically going to go to the private one instead of having to select it. Once again, you don't have to have that feature. Some people would find that useful, others might not find it useful. Yeah, that's kind of the prescription section in that sort of scenario. Another thing that was added in this update was when you go add new and you have your standard scripts. Some people don't use standard scripts, and maybe this is the first time anyone's ever heard about them. But if it is, then I have a user manual online that I can show you how to create standard scripts. So under standard scripts, when I have a list of all my drugs, so the asthmatic ones. So if I click on asthma, come up in directions there, everything is in alphabetical order now. So that's new in there. And let me see here, what else? Yeah, so that's the kind of prescription section there. The next useful thing that I will show you is there's a new feature under e-referrals where you can attach documents to your e-referral now with HealthLink. Now, it's not the case that it's every single e-referral that you do, you have this option. It's only slowly, I'd imagine in the future everyone's going to be on it, but at the moment it's only a few hospitals. So once the hospitals agree to, or say they can receive attached documents, then HealthLink turn that feature on. So I'll just show you that. So I go to documents and I go to e-referrals. So I have a test, HealthLink account here, so it's not linked to the live one. So if I go e-referrals and I go add new and I go HealthLink referral, I know that the Maher, for example, is one hospital that the feature is turned on, so I'll show it on that one. So public, I go down my list, select hospital, choose the Maher, and I know that the cardiology referral is one, for example. Maybe all of them, but I'm just going to show you the cardiology one. And then you do your normal process where the patient we don't know who it is. So we go create new patient if not found, fill in all the mandatory details, which is the red, go next, fill in all your normal stuff. And when I scroll down the page here, I have the option now called file attachments. So from here, it gives you 3 files allowed. So this can link to your letters and your scans. So if I just click on add here, it's linked. These are my documents, because it says documents, those are my scans, so my attachments, and these are my letters. So I'm just going to attach this scan document, and I go select, and it's now uploading file. So if it's not allowed, it will tell you you can't send that sort of file. Maybe there's some random, I don't know, ECG file that you might be selecting by accident and you're including that. You can't include that. So then when it's uploaded, it'll tell me how many I've got left. So if I scroll down the page, then you might want to attach more. You can attach more. Then you click on next and you can. So this one here, actually, that's just specific to my computer. There's actually some, I don't have everything installed on this to allow that. Yeah, but yeah, I've seen it work. It definitely works. Right, so that's that section. You can submit that, and if you can't select the file, then if it's not allowed, then you just say I'll delete that and I won't include it. So once again, yeah, it's not every hospital that has that, and it's not every referral. It all depends on the hospital. Can the hospital have the capability of receiving these files? If they can, it'll be turned on. If it's not there, then it's just not an option at the moment for that hospital. Yeah, so that's the HealthLink referrals there, section done. I'll show you some other features. I'm just going to close out of, yeah, that'll be grand. I'll need that again in a minute. So if you are, another feature that's been added is, say, if you go on lunch and you've left your Socrates open, which a lot of people would do, you have the option of locking it. So up the top left-hand corner, you've always had this option. You got file and you got lock screen. So if I click on lock screen here, it comes up like this, and then it's locked and only you can unlock it. So if I put in my passwords, this feature's always been here, but so that's that. So the new feature that's included is an option for if you haven't been using your machine for a certain period of time, that will automatically lock. So if you've been gone for 15 minutes or 20 minutes, then you can get it to automatically lock. So that feature is in under Edit, Preferences, and Notifications. So these preferences that I'm going to be showing you now, these are only specific to the machine. So you'd have to do this on every machine. Just because you turn it on your one doesn't mean it turns on for everything. It's just these preferences are just for the computer that you're sitting at. So down here at the bottom, I have the option lock screen after inactivity. So not, it's telling you here actually, not means it's not turned on, and 5 is the minimum length time. So if I choose, I want it to lock after 20 minutes, as in, it'll only lock after 20 minutes when I'm not using it. It's not going to lock it just randomly after 20 minutes. And I can say OK to that. So that's that preference. So yeah, you can, when it locks, you just do what I just showed you there, which is put in your password, and then you can unlock it. Another preference, so I'll go again, Edit, Preferences. So this preference allows new instant messages you received to be minimized. So do you know how sometimes when you might get a message, you might be typing out a note and suddenly it pops into your instant message and you're actually typing out your note in it and you don't notice. So you can have that turned on, so it'll be minimized. So up here, edit preferences, and then we have notifications again. And then it's just above the one that I showed you there a moment ago, which was open new instant messages received minimized. So you click that and then you say okay, and then anytime someone sends you a message, it's not going to pop up on screen, it's just going to be minimized flashing like you would normally. Like sometimes when you get an instant message, you might minimize it, and then from then on, if anyone sends you a message, it's always minimized, it doesn't keep popping up at you. Yeah, so that's flashing at the bottom. Another feature that's been included in this update, which will be quite useful as well, is under the consultation details page, or not even there, anytime you send a text message, so if you click on the person's mobile number, or if you're in under communication, SMS messaging, and you send a text message from in here, it shows you when the person's last text was sent. So say if you weren't really 100% sure if you have sent it, say you sent a message this morning, but you're not really 100% sure and you're about to send it again, and you realize, oh, I actually sent one today already, so it's probably not needing to be sent again. So last sent, unknown here because I haven't actually sent any. But obviously the feature's always been there. If you wanted to see if you sent a text message, you can just go under SMS and it gives you a history of your text messages. Oh, another really good feature that's been included, a lot of people were looking for, is on the appointment diary, you have exceptions. So I just put in some data in here this morning. You have a meeting. So in here, if I double click on this meeting, there's my exception. It tells you who created this exception and what date it was created. So a lot of people are calling up saying, someone's added an exception. They're not meant to be adding exceptions. Who did it? And then it'll tell you here, basically. Here they are. This is who created. And if I want to look at other exceptions, I can filter them in here and highlight those names, and I can see, all right, that one was created by David, etc. Yeah, I think people will really will appreciate that one. Let me see here, what other patient search preference. So in there, you have when you search for someone, anyone, if you're on the appointment diary, you have your search window that comes up for your booking your appointments. When you're under consultation, the exact same window pops up. You search for the person, it defaults to active. So anywhere where you see this window, it defaults to active. But some people might want to be able to see all. They want to see everyone, active, inactive, deceased, etc. So you can turn that feature on now as well. So up here at the top left-hand corner, you have edit preferences again. And under general, you have a tab called patient. And from here, the default search status is active. You can change that to all. So once again, as I was saying, these are just preferences for your machine. So if you want to turn it on your machine, it doesn't turn it on for everyone if you change it on in preferences here. So it defaults to all, and then you click OK. And now anytime I'm booking an appointment, it defaults to all, so it'll automatically search for active, inactive, deceased. Same with consultation. Same if I'm in under the patient details section and I want to search for someone. That's there basically. Yeah, that's that feature. 1 second there now. I just got a lot of pages with all the stuff on it, so 1 second there now.
Just a reminder, if anyone has any questions on it, pop them in and we'll do our best to answer them at the end.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, I am back where I need to be. Right, another feature that's been added in is in under the antenatal section. So under Annie, for example. So Annie, I don't know if she has any antenatal in her chart, I'll just check. So antenatal, yeah, she does. So to make it easier to see who actually added the actual antenatal visit, it's under antenatal now. So when you highlight the antenatal visit, it'll give you the name of who created it. So there's the name for that. It doesn't show for the older ones, it only shows for the ones that you've created since you got the 2.6. So as soon as you get 2.6 in the next few weeks, It doesn't mean that you're going to see all the previous ones, just the future ones. Another thing is under the result viewer, it's kind of changed a bit. Essentially, it does the exact same thing, but it's just a little bit different. So when I go into, when the doctor goes into my control panel and goes to result viewer, they're used to having the messages here up at the top. So investigations, co-op messages, and appointment messages, etc. They come up here at the top. And now they're actually appearing here on the left-hand side instead. So investigations, co-op, etc. Another thing that's being added in is under the letter section, there is a new, when you add a letter, you have you might want to include immunizations in it. So you've always been able to include immunizations, but it didn't include all the stuff that people might want. So if I just go add letter and I go to standard referral, I've defaulted to go to this patient. I say, okay. Obviously, you're not going to be sending to the patient, you're going to be sending to a consultant. And from here now at the bottom, it brings in the batch number, expiry date, trade name, manufacturer. So obviously, you're not going to always want to bring in shots in on a letter. It mightn't be relevant to the standard referral letter that you're sending off to the consultant. So if it's the case that you only kind of doing it on small basis where you don't have to send it off to yeah, you know what I'm trying to say. Up here at the top, you've got add-ins and you've got immunizations. So these are all the add-ins here you can bring in after you've added the letter into the chart. Some people don't realize this is here, that they can tweak their template as they go. So maybe in this one, you want to bring in an immunization. This one, you might want to bring in bloods, something like that. So I'm going to just put in under here, under medical history, I'm going to put in immunizations. So from here, I go up to immunizations and I can see here, I can bring in due, I can bring in given. So I want to include all of this and I can say okay, and it brings that in now. So I don't have to go in and manually copy and paste it in. If you want this to be on your template by default, like I had already, you do that by going into my control panel, admin console, system types. So under system types, I have a tab called letter templates, and I'm modifying this particular template. So I highlight that, I go edit, pops up the letter, and from here, I've automatically brought in shots given. But to show you how to do that, it's the exact same thing that I did in the chart, only for this will just make it permanent. It's always going to be on this template unless you take it off. So once again, I click on add-ins, and then I go to immunizations, and I can say I only want to bring in the ones that are due. I can click on what exactly I want to, well, you won't have that stuff on it because it's due. Given, you can say I want to bring in this stuff here. I don't want to bring in manufacturer or trade name or whatever it is. And I can say okay. And then that will automatically, I've put it in under bloods. It will automatically bring in the immunization. I think I'm really finished with that actually. Oh yeah, one last thing I have to show. And that is some modifications have been put in under the custom form section. Actually, two things I have to show you. If I X out of this letter template, yeah, I'll save that. Under the custom forms, a lot of people might be quite au fait with them, others won't, so this might be helpful for you. So my control panel, admin console, custom forms. So under custom forms, I have a list of all my forms. I'm just going to go into this. Actually, I'm just going to go new template. Right, so in the template now, over here on the left-hand side, these are all the fields that you were able to bring in. So you have the normal stuff, you have the baseline. So in this one here, it's brought in other stuff. So patient details, it's bringing in the age now. So you can bring in age. You can also bring in allergies and drug allergies. And one other thing that's new in here is you can also bring in form details. So you can bring in form date. So that's basically the form that you're adding. You can bring that date in. And yeah, that's it. Another useful thing, the last thing I'll show you, another useful thing is, obviously we've got, I honestly don't know how many letter reports that we have, but there's a lot. So under the report section, you have your normal stuff. You have the filter of one look at immunization ones, prescriptions. But if I go to patient or any one of them, there's a search window here, and I can just type out what exactly it is I want to look for. So maybe investigation recall. So it'll return everything that has the word investigation on it. So it got category, and then down here at the bottom it goes patient. If I so yeah, that search window is there. It'll make it a bit easier. If you know the name of your report, then it's included in that search window basically. So yeah, that's basically the main features. There's other features in it, but they're not turned on yet because they're only in pilot. So I'm just going to show you one other thing on the actual Socrates website. Under resources, we have a manual on what's new in this version. So down here, I've got release notes 2.6. You can have a look at them. And also, I was on about earlier, if someone hasn't been using standard scripts, there's also a manual here on how to create standard scripts. So you can just click download and read that, and that will be useful for them. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Donald, is there any questions?
Louise. No questions at all. I think that was a really good overview of kind of a lot of the new functionality. All of it to me as a layman seemed like it's going to save people time and just make people's processes easier. So hopefully everyone here will start using it, embracing it. And again, just if you're looking for the links, they're on the Socrates website. That's socrates.ie. Up in the top right hand corner, you'll see resources, and if you click there, you'll see everything. There's a few videos up there, as well as all of the different user guides. I think
Exactly.
version 2.6, so as you said, it's starting to be rolled out at the moment. So if this functionality isn't in your system right now, don't worry, it will be added soon. And over the next few weeks, we'll be getting it out to everyone out there. And I think that's it, unless anyone has any last minute questions. But I think that was a really good overview, Louise. So thanks a million for that.
Okay, perfect. I'll give it a minute and see if anyone has any questions.
Yeah, look, there's nothing coming in, so I'm going to take it.
Correct. Yeah.
Covered everything excellently, and everyone is
Perfect.
happy out. And look, I hope everyone here has a wonderful long weekend if you have Monday off, and enjoy it. Thanks again, Louise, and thanks to everyone for joining us today. We'll be back next week with our last webinar in this series as well. Thanks very much. Cheers. Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye bye.